Oh, hello again and welcome back. It's always a pleasure to have you join me and to listen in on this presentation. Today I'm going to talk about the Freedom Village, the occupation of the Parliament grounds that happened at the beginning of this year. It is now being framed as the riots, and the impression that is being given by media, the government, and security officials is that the unvaccinated are now arming themselves for violent resolution. And the security services, SIS and that, have been given a budget, I think, and it's now over $300 million, which is absolutely unbelievable for a country of just 5 million. And they're actively recruiting ordinary New Zealanders to work for the intelligence services, which I assume most of them are going to be moles within society, within your community, within your clubs and groups and that, and they'll be basically acting as informants. It sounds very much like we're heading towards some kind of East German Stasi type administration. But let me focus just on the Freedom Village, which is now being couched as, or reframed by mainstream media and the government as being a violent riot. And let's just see. And the best way is to look at some of the photographs which I recorded when we were at Parliament. I was at Parliament almost every single day. In fact, I was there every day, and I saw my role was to record photographically and video and publish articles. Now, I guess if we're looking at violent language, well, I guess you could say this lovely young woman, I guess you could say she was using violence, but really she's just putting across, I think, an opinion which was very well supported. And as you look at these images, I'll move down. Just a minute. So I wanted you to see that one. That's probably the violence they're referring to. But if you look at the crowd in this photograph, are they really violent? And here's the other side where the violence came from, in my opinion. And here's our demonstrators. Here's the woman doing a nice waiata, a Indigenous Maori song, singing peace and love and harmony. And here's this lovely lady with her wings of fire and so on. And there's me getting a big hug. That's me on my bike. And here's our police, of course, very peaceful. And if you want to read some of the signs, aren't these people just lovely? And here's me. Anyway, we've got to get in some photographs of some very sexy bicycles. That's my mate Simon, another mate of mine. There we are. This is these are now called the riots of Parliament. A big gathering, free food, just amazing how peaceful and loving and wonderful this whole evening was. And here's our mainstream media all masked up and up in the up high up, protected from this unruly mass, looking for the photo opportunities to be able to portray a violent rebel. Look at all this beautiful food being delivered. Here we are. Oh yes, taking up the streets. But you've got to remember that all of these people were spending money in Wellington. This was really good for Wellington's economy. Just think of all the beer that was drunk. and later when the weather turned bad, Wellington was cleaned out of tents, heaters, gas, LPG heaters, umbrellas, clothing, just amazing. So here we are. Oh yes, here's some more violent wording. Yes, I guess that's violent. And these children, do you think they are feeling unsafe in this environment at Parliament? I don't think so. Oh, that's the woman there, by the way, who got, you may recall some videos where a woman was dragged naked from the protest lines. That's her. And isn't this so lovely? And again, a young man, I'm sure that he doesn't feel unsafe. If you think that this is unsafe, oh, by the way, there's Tapu, who had one of the occupations around it on the Miramar Peninsula, Shelley Bay. His group, his whānau, were evacuated. They're just lovely, wonderful, peaceful people, and here we are. Yes, absolutely an amazing collection of people from all aspects of New Zealand society, and just the most amazing gathering. Beautiful music, the poetry, hugs all round, people meeting each other for the first time in a long time, and of course beautiful dogs. So this is, I'll continue on. After the I've got video here. You can go into this and watch all of these, but this is the video where the police were ultimately had to acknowledge defeat. Because the people turned their backs, linked arms, and it was the police that had to mete out the violence. My partner, Alofa, was in this group here, and one elderly lady with her back turned to the police had her ribs broken and had to be taken off to hospital after a very large male police officer shoulder barged into the crowd and did quite a lot of damage, and she had to be hospitalized. After that, people from all around New Zealand, when they saw the images of the police violence, they rushed to Wellington, including like this group. They were standing overlooking Parliament and praying, sending out good vibes of love through the ether for peace. So we had those sorts of groups coming, people meeting up for the first time in a long time. There was so much love going on, and I say here, this one dear 80-year-old lady hitchhiked overnight from Hamilton, and she arrived basically with the clothes on her back and her false teeth. That's all. The numbers swelled and swelled. It was just absolutely amazing. The violence was met by peaceful resistance, and it worked very well. The government then responded by turning on the sprinklers when there was a water ban on for the Greater Wellington, and also bringing in floodlights for 24 hours for bright lights to be shined on the protesters, and also playing North Korean torture music 24/7, using ways to try and wind us up to turn us into being violent. That was the tactic that they decided they had to do. The response, however, was absolutely amazing. The donations from Wellingtonians, the food, the free food, nobody paid a cent for anything. Tents were donated, heating was donated, umbrellas, warm clothing, everything. This bloke here came down from Whanganui, and he bought this sign. All that the government needed to do was to come down and speak to us and hear our concerns. And I'll tell you what, people would have gone home. We would have all gone home if the government had just simply engaged. And you've got to remember that we represented at the time, the polls indicated somewhere close to 40% of New Zealanders. So the calling us names like calling us a river of filth was absolutely uncalled for and did nothing but harden the attitudes of many of the people here. Basically, here, end the mandates and we go home. That was actually a very reasonable request, especially when now we know that the mandates did nothing to prevent the spread of the disease. It did nothing to save lives. And the vaccine, which was mandated, has been proven to not be, it doesn't prevent transmission and it doesn't prevent infection, which means that it is not a vaccine. It doesn't work. And in fact, the evidence is growing that it does far more harm than any good. In fact, it does no good at all. It's zero. It's a zero, but actually, in reality, a negative benefit. So that's there, and let's just have a look at a few. Look at, well, this is my daughter Myra, my partner Alofa, and myself, of course, and being very patriotic, but wearing a New Zealand flag is seen as being an insurgent nowadays. And but look at this. These people, aren't they having a lovely time? And look at the crowd. My sister's in there, by the way, which you will spot my older sister. But look at this, young and old. About, I'd say, at least probably 40%, maybe higher, were Maori. It's just fabulous, the people that were there. And these were not violent people. A lot has been said about we had to protect the children. That's why we had to clear it out, because of the children being unsafe. And I'll just go and show a few more. Just the lovely people. This man drove his trailer all the way from Opotiki with a portable barbecue, and he was giving away bacon and sausages, giving people free breakfasts. This is Megan, an amazing musician, poet. Just look at this. Aren't these just wonderful images of just beautiful people there to make a point and putting up with the most terrible weather at the time. But these are not terrorists. These people are now being made out to be terrorists. Okay, they're not. Notice the free food and so on. Setting up camp. These are the midwives. This woman here delivered one of my children by home birth, by the way, and there was another midwife there who delivered two of my other children. And why were midwives there? The older, more experienced midwives, because they saw very early the damage being done in terms of miscarriages and stillbirths right up to 8 months, which were linked to the vaccine. They refused to take the vaccine or to participate, and with us mandated out of their jobs, as were thousands of other health professionals, most of whom were not recorded as having been mandated out. But if you're wondering why were midwives there, well, it's because they got to see it. And we're now in a terrible situation where midwifery is in crisis because the older ones have left. There's my daughter with these amazing people from the Uraweras. And look, they may look fierce, but they're not. They are just good, hardworking, genuine Kiwis who, by the way, are not the ruling elite of Maoridom. not a single one of them was seen at the during Parliament, as what can be said for all the MPs. Basically, the ruling elite leadership was completely absent. The people further down, including the people they represent, were the ones that were here. But no, we didn't see the leadership. And you look at these guys and you might think, oh, they're fierce, but no, they're just great. And look, we just spent all our time hugging and talking and so on. And if anybody is to suggest that these are child abusers, rapists, molesters, or that there were hygiene issues or what have you, that the children were unsafe, that is complete rubbish. And of course, yes, there were tinfoil hat wearing people making fun of the propaganda being delivered our way. And yes, people were concerned about things like the use of acoustic weapons against the protesters, and they did use acoustic weapons amongst other things. So there certainly was concern. But yes, he was right. There was a conspiracy. It no longer is a theory. If you think of the Agenda 2030, the World Economic Forum's Fourth Industrial Revolution, those are not theories. They are realities. They're out in the open now. They're there for you to find. So, just absolutely wonderful, and just the most amazing environment for children. It was just fabulous for children. Everybody, these are wonderful, peaceful people, and I should point out that this village had everything. I thought this was quite famous. A lot of police resigned after the first attempt to move out the occupation. But this was a village that arose, and there wasn't a mayor, there wasn't a politician in sight. It just showed how tribal and cooperative human beings are when you leave them to it. This guy just started doing the rubbish collection. This guy blowing bubbles and also playing a flute. He was providing security, bubble security. You can see the portaloos and so on at the back. Colin from down south built a portable toilet and shower block, which was established at Parliament. But within a day of it arriving, the police did a late night raid and vandalised it and destroyed the toilet block. They just had to do everything they could to undermine what was going on. So this is just was an amazing experience. Many people turned up and then promptly went home and brought their children back with them, because people said to me, Gary, I brought my family here because this is a once in a lifetime experience for them. I want them to see it. So you can see here the joy and so on. But look, the propagandists might look at this and say, oh, that boy's not properly clothed and he's got bare feet. We've got to rescue him and put him into childcare. They'll probably say that this man giving out apples for free, that these apples are organic and therefore they're unhealthy. They need to be sprayed before they're given out. It was an amazing experience and a great opportunity for bringing New Zealand together, for empowerment, and all the way through, I should say, is that we were saying to the police, we're doing this for you. This is as much for you as it is for us. Just very important. yeah, just the joy of it all. This was an amazing family get together. Okay, so that's where we're at. The last day did turn violent. However, it was very much instigated by the authorities. They spent weeks basically winding people up. They also infiltrated with agents provocateur, people, basically agents who entered and were there to create rumours, to create dissent, and so on, as well as to inform on the protesters. And on the last day, we're there to create actual violence, to throw things at the police, and basically wind up the last few remaining people that were there on the last day. Just about everybody had left by the last day, and the people who remained were a combination of plants, secret agents that have been placed within the police force, and I've got some of them on video because I was there video recording it, and I have submitted that video footage to the Police Complaints Authority, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But the last day was did turn violent. The fires, in my opinion, were not lit by legitimate protesters, but by provocateurs. The police actually stood back while the fires were lit, and then they advanced with fire hoses and so on. That was very evident. There were people, I'd been there every single day, and there were people there on the last day who were unusual. And the clothing they were wearing, the full face balaclavas and ski goggles and so on, that many of them were wearing, it was dodgy. There were a couple who I identified who had the police type issue earphones concealed in their ears. And I have submitted that to the Police Complaints Authority to look at. So that's my take on the Freedom Village. It is being reframed as a riot. It certainly wasn't. It was the most amazing, family-friendly gathering that I've seen in a long time, and it really reaffirmed my faith in humanity. And I had so many hugs. And I should point out as well that the authorities did warn that there would be a super spreader event and people would be dying in the streets because of COVID. Well, I think we all ended up getting COVID. I certainly did, because of all the hugging and handshaking and hugging and so on, and also being at close quarters and singing. But the simple fact is that nobody died. We all survived. And it went to show the lie that this whole COVID thing was a big beat up. We did not need to close down the country, and we did not need to bring in these draconian mandates or laws, which has split New Zealand apart. And we're now facing the consequence, which is a death rate and a dropping birth rate. It's horrific what's going on, and there'll be more videos about this. Okay, so with that, I'll leave you, but please just use your own brain to judge for yourself whether or not the occupation down at Parliament was a peaceful or a violent event. Okay, have a lovely day.